Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of your weekly rundown. Of course, joined in with me as always, my co-host all the way from the U, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. The audience, man, that very late applause, man. I don't know what's going on, but I'm doing very good, man. Since we last left you guys, there's been a lot of things happening. I'm very glad that we recorded a little later this week to get to you because the big news came today. A lot of big news came today. So we'll start with this. The Philadelphia 76ers are hiring former executive for the Houston Rockets, Daryl Morey, to be their president of basketball operations. This is a huge deal because a lot of us thought that he wouldn't be working in the NBA for the next year, take a little bit of a layoff as it was reported. But we got this news from Adrian Wojnarowski first, Shams Charania, then followed that up with what the deal is expected to be. The deal's not done. It's agreed to in principle, and the coming days will be done, but it's a 5-year deal. He'll be running the show over there in Philadelphia, and this is a huge deal. Him and Doc Rivers already have a relationship going with each other. They work together in Boston. I believe before Daryl Morey decided to step down to Houston, he was actually talking to Doc about possibly coming to Houston. So they're coming together. It's another piece to the puzzle, to the process, and we got a lot going on there, man. I don't know when I was talking to you when the news first broke. We talked about Simmons and how that's going to work. Could he be expendable? Could they take you mentioned that could they take the Russell Westbrook approach with him and what they were able to do with Russ when he got to Houston. I still feel like Simmons is going to go out there and continue to try and develop that jumper as we've been hearing. We actually got to see it because this has been talked about for a while now. He's been in the league for a few years now. We need to see it. But what I thought about this immediately, and there was so many things to think about. One, we talk about Simmons possibly being expendable. I think Embiid could possibly be expendable too, because we have the one weakness in Simmons' game, which is the perimeter shot or the jumper. Embiid, a lot of us, myself included, want to see him, have more, play more in the post as opposed to trying to chuck up shots and whatnot, or be on the perimeter, be that big man. So, and then we always got to talk about his conditioning and things like that. So from that standpoint, with Morey in there and, he's all in the analytics and everything, could he try and move on from one of these guys? Maybe both. I doubt it. I actually don't believe he'll try and move on from both. And this is what Daryl Morey was in Houston for 13 years. He got there. They had Yao Ming, they had Tracy McGrady. Moved on from those two. They never tanked. And in 13 years, he went from them. I think when he started, they had a losing record. And for the majority of his tenure in Houston, they were an above 500 team. And the last couple of years, they were a title contender, not getting over that hump. And I've got some work for you guys coming pretty soon. I don't want to give that away. So he comes to Philadelphia, and he comes to Philadelphia with this great track record. It's full circle stuff, by the way, because I don't know if you knew this. Sam Hinkie was actually working under Daryl Morey at one point, I think, at Houston. And now Sam Hinkie, the one who started the whole process thing in Philadelphia, he's gone, and now Daryl Morey is in Philly. Now, and I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. I believe if anybody is expendable with Philadelphia, it is Tobias Harris and Al Horford. Now, Elton Brand is still in his position as general manager for the Philadelphia 76ers. He will continue that role, and it's just Daryl Morey is now running everything, and Elton Brand is second in command. So whatever Elton Brand had said, he could. It's a weird situation, but I believe that Philly got the right pieces in there. and what they're going to do is probably continue. Here's the thing people get a little bit confused about with Daryl Morey. I think they're very, very focused on what he was doing in Houston the last couple of years with the 3-point shooting and all of that. I think he can find other ways to put a successful team together. I think that's just what he was focused on in Houston. I think that they can find ways, a different style of play to complement Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and get those players in there and put together a winning recipe. Now I'm actually pretty excited for what they can do there.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, there's a lot, a lot to unpack there. I think first to start off with, he said he's going to take some time off. You said Elton Brand is still there, so maybe this is a thing where like he's going to come in. I think this really to me shows that next year is like a win now year for kind of the Sixers. I think if they don't win next year, then they're going to kind of try to blow it up. I mean, I guess we all been kind of saying that, give it one more try. I mean, with Doc Rivers in there, then you think you bring a Daryl Morey. I think Daryl Morey's probably going to let Elton Brand do this next year, see what he can probably do with the team. And then after that, I think they're going to maybe try to go in a new direction. I think the two guys you said with Tobias Harris and Al Horford, I think those guys were expendable no matter kind of who the GM was. I think kind of just the way last year played out, especially Al Horford. I think maybe they would try to keep Tobias Harris a little longer, but I think if the right deal came up, he was kind of expendable. They need to try to find a way to get some more shooting around those guys, definitely. So I think those two guys are maybe expendable, maybe either way. But I think if Darren, like I said, I think Daryl Morey might sit back. He said he want to take some time with his family. He might take this job, let Elton Brand do it for another year, and then after that, he'll probably kind of maybe take over and blow it up. That's just one interesting point to me. Then another thing is with Houston, did they really just agree to part ways now that you think about it, or a lot of people kind of forgot about it, the China situation that kind of happened maybe like a year or so ago now. At the time, it would have been kind of hard for the Rockets to fire him then, because then it would be like, oh, how a lot of people was calling before, like, the NBA doesn't want to stand up to China and it's about money and things like that. So a year has gone by, and I was even talking to a couple of people, and they forgot about the whole situation. They thought like, hey, he just decided to part ways, or they just fired him because the way the season went. So I think a year later, and I kind of said that back then. I'm like, if you wait until like next summer and see how things kind of play out, it'll kind of lessen the blow and people kind of maybe forget about the China thing. So maybe the China thing was still in the back of their mind. And when you think about Houston, they make the most money off of China, Yao Ming, the connection and things like that. So that's another thing. So those two things would be interesting to see. And just, yeah, like you said, I didn't know too much about kind of like Sam Hinkie being under him and things, but now it's kind of like, they're not gonna be back on the process thing, but maybe Daryl Morey has said some of the same things that they liked about Sam Hinkie and things like that. So kind of just, everything, like you said, coming back full circle.
Yeah, man, 100%. I actually would, as far as I know, I think Morey's going to hit the ground running here with running basketball operations for the Sixers. I actually disagree from the point. I don't think that he's like, if they don't win it next year, I don't think he's going to blow it up. As far as the two stars go, anyway, I'm still under the belief that they're going to find a way to just complement those guys. I think, if anything, I think Morey is going to go out there and look for a ton of 3-point shooting to surround these guys with, maybe get another guy in the front court to kind of complement Embiid, as Horford and Tobias Harris haven't really done that. And, you mentioned Al Horford being the most expendable. That's definitely true considering how much he was paid to come to Philadelphia, and he didn't really live up to what they wanted him to be there. At one point ended up coming off the bench for them just because that's what made the most sense for them. I think Tobias Harris, I just think they're both extremely expendable from we talked about why Horford is expendable. I think as far as Tobias Harris goes, he doesn't remind me of Paul George in the sense that he chokes in the playoffs, but Paul George is paid handsomely to be the number 2 option on that team and didn't live up to hype. Tobias Harris is paid handsomely to be a go-to guy for them, number 3 option to them. At one point, when Embiid went down, when Simmons went down, he was the number 2, and when Embiid I'm sorry, Embiid never ended up getting hurt, but he ended up going to be a number 2 option and didn't live up to that hype at all. So I think from that standpoint, he's another guy that's expendable. And if I am Philly, And I'm saying this right now. I'm not saying it to be funny or anything else. If I'm Philadelphia, I'm calling the New York Knicks. Now, listen, do you want these contracts? From a historical standpoint and all that. Get these because you got to find a way to get these contracts off. And I'm being completely serious. What team do you know takes on bad contracts?
But if you're Philly, who
Don't
do you
ask me
get?
who. I'm just going by what I historically know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Elton Brand in that case. Like you said, he's gonna go from being the kind of the number one guy calling the shots to now the second guy calling the shots. Just kind of how that whole thing works out. I mean, maybe you think both of them kind of go in there and maybe work together and kind of double head the thing and get them on the right path kind of and towards that championship that they're trying to get. Or maybe he kind of doesn't like it and he maybe looks elsewhere. So this it like I said, it's interesting. That's the only reason why I brought up the point where maybe he sits back for a year because Elton Brand still being there, it still lets him take that time off with his family or not, and with his family and whatnot. But if he hits the ground running, I think the Houston situation didn't end the way that they wanted us to think it ended.
No, I completely agree. Those are code words. It's like they decided to mutually part ways. The Clippers decided to mutually part ways with Doc Rivers. The Clippers and Doc Rivers decided to mutually part ways. Okay, sure. Or Daryl Morey after this whole China fiasco, they decided to mutually part ways. In a couple months, we'll be hearing how Dave Gettleman and the Giants decided to mutually part ways. So we get it. We get it. It's a nice way to send them off, whatever. But yeah, and I definitely am with you on that. I think it was more so, hey, you can say you did this, but I think it's time to move on here. And speaking of Houston, they have now hired their next head coach. It was a long running. We know Jeff Van Gundy had a second interview. Me personally, I thought that he was going to end up being the guy there. And I think we need to have a conversation about his coaching future in the league following this now. But Stephen Silas, who's an assistant for the Dallas Mavericks, is now the new, first time, by the way, head coach of the Houston Rockets. And I think that this is actually an interesting hire. It definitely shocked me a little bit, but it's an interesting hire from the sense that look who he was going up against, a proven commodity in Jeff Van Gundy, who already had history with the Houston Rockets. But when I say I don't think it's a bad hire, I was looking at his track record, and this isn't your parents or your grandparents' NBA anymore, where centers run it, or you still need a great wing, but your centers or your big men run the league. This is a guards league first now. Stephen Silas has worked with Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry. The list of guards he's worked with goes on. And he is now going to be running an offense with the tandem of Russell Westbrook and James Harden, the two guys who are the highest scoring duo in league history since Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Now, from what I know, the approach that the Houston Rockets have taken with the small ball is going to be a bit different going forward. I think they're still looking for a big man that they can plug in there. Their circumstances, and I don't want to get too much into it because we talked about it a lot with them, have been tough, specifically this past year with the things they had to deal with Russ. But I'm interested to see how this is going to work moving forward. And I know that it's going to be very similar to like what the Giants, switching sports a little bit here, what the Giants did when they hired Joe Judge, who's a first-time head coach. They're probably going to surround Stephen Silas with a bunch of veteran coaches for his staff. By the way, it's just like, I think it's like 40 years or something like that. His dad is Paul Silas. This is like 40 years since his dad got his first coaching job, so I thought that was just interesting to throw in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. I want to see how the kind of reports come out over the next couple of days. If Jeff Van Gundy maybe just didn't want the job, he interviewed.
Oh, he wanted it.
So yeah, that's interesting that they kind of went a different way then. So surprising to me. Like you said, we all kind of thought that Jeff Van Gundy was kind of the guy for the job. I mean, like I brought it up, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, with Daryl Morey being out. It'd be interesting to see how that kind of plays out now because he was kind of Daryl Morey's old guy and things like that. So to me, Houston's in an interesting situation. I don't kind of know what direction they may be going in. But like you said, he's a veteran. They're going to surround him with some more veterans. He's been around. He's been on a lot of guards. So it's a well-deserved, definitely. Another black guy in the league. So shout out to that. I know Stephen A should be happy about that. So I think it's going to be a wait and see approach to me. But for them going with a first-time head coach, I mean, it could work out. We have seen a lot of first-time head coaches have a lot of success, but it could to me that maybe they give it another year. Maybe even this summer they might think about kind of maybe blowing it up.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioning them blowing it up is interesting too, because we hear about how the fans over there feel about Tillman Fertitta and his pockets and everything. I know the latest I heard on him is, well, the Houston Rockets as an organization is they're going to be looking for that mid-level exception, which kind of means he's not looking to spend. Not kind of, it means he's not looking to really spend a ton of money in free agency. But
Yeah.
no, go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, definitely. Just following the Rockets over the last year, I've seen a lot of people, fans, and for the most part, fans just saying about how he doesn't really want to spend too much money. And I know he kind of put Daryl Morey in an interesting situation during the season, trying to shed some salary to kind of get under the cap. So it's gonna be interesting what they do going forward. They have a high payroll, but they kind of got to get some pieces around these guys if they really want to make a run and do something. So as I said, with the new hire, they got a new GM in there now, a new coach, a couple first timers. So it's gonna be interesting if they maybe, like I said, start to blow it up and kind of go in a new direction. This may be like, hey, we're going in a new direction. Till Fertitta took the team over a couple of years ago. He let kind of that run play out. It might be the end of that run. He's thinking like, all right, it's time for him to blow it up. And like you say, he doesn't want to spend too much money. So usually when you're a rebuilding team, you're not spending too much money.
Yeah, I mean, well, the interesting thing too, Russ's deal is going to be coming to a close pretty soon. Not in the next, it was 2 years. He's got like 2 years left on his deal.
I think he has this one in a player option, I believe, probably.
Yeah, so it could be even out of Houston's hands. So that's something to monitor as well. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely on board with what you're saying there. I think at this point, like they've always been like right there, and you notice with those teams that are right there, the brass of those teams get tired pretty soon. Like, all right, we're just not getting anywhere. We tried it and we tried it and we tried it, and we're just still stuck in the same position. Maybe it's time to go a different direction. So that's definitely something to monitor. And like Houston is James Harden's city for sure, but I can see both of those guys being available if they just can't get over the hump pretty soon. And like we both said, we agree with James Harden's post-series comments when they lost to the Lakers. I felt like they were a piece away. We both said we agreed, and we're gonna wait and see what they do there. I know the man that they hired elevated. He was the vice president. Now he's the president of basketball operations. He worked very closely with Daryl Morey for the last couple of years. So I think it's kind of very similar philosophy and everything like that. He's up to speed with everything that they're doing. So I feel like it's a good confidence for things like that. And I just want to see what Stephen Silas's Houston Rockets are going to look like. I'm actually pretty excited.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, maybe they give it another year or so, and then maybe just kind of start and go in a new direction. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the GM and kind of the owner does over the next couple of years. Speaking of someone that worked under under Daryl Morey, we were talking about Sam Hinkie earlier. So you know how he was when he was with Philly, trust the process. So maybe we see trust the process over there in Houston.
That would be very, very interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just to get on some other NBA coaching tidbits here, some staff hirings. Hey, you might like this, man. Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire are getting back together in Brooklyn.
I love it. I love the move. I love it. I don't know if he's probably not going to be his head assistant, but I love the move. Just having those guys back together. We've seen what they was able to do with the pick and roll. I think I've seen a couple of people talk about kind of trying to get KD and Kyrie on that same kind of pick and roll. But just seeing those guys back together, man, I remember watching it with the Suns and just that pick and roll. I remember playing 2K trying to reincarnate the pick and roll and things. So I think Amari Stoudemire, he's back in New York. Not only is he back with Steve Nash, he's back in New York. So about his time in New York before he kind of started getting injured and stuff. That first season was kind of crazy before Melo got there. So I like the move from just seeing them back together. To be honest, I guess from a fan standpoint, I love the move.
Yeah, Sean Marks has done a phenomenal job since he got the job over in Brooklyn. You know, kudos to him and everything he's done. You know, we kind of scratched our heads when they decided to move on from Kenny Atkinson, and we will talk about Kenny Atkinson pretty soon. But, you know, I can't really question too much about what Sean Marks is doing because when he got the job over there, he was in a very tough position. They were really bad. They had no draft picks, and they had to make some interesting moves to get to where they got. And, you know, now they're a title contender. They got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, 2 NBA champions to lead their way. You know, Steve Nash is a rookie head coach. He's never been a head coach in his life. Amari Stoudemire's never been a coach in his life either. I mean, you know, they kept their head assistant on board, which is a great thing. You made him the highest paid assistant, but you know, not a lot of experience on that staff outside of that. And again, that's going to be something else that's interesting to watch. But I can't wait to see. You know, like you mentioned, Amari Stoudemire coming back to New York. You know, obviously the Knicks were at that point. You know, that whole era, that short-lived era, was known as like Melo's team and everything. Amari Stoudemire was the one that brought the Knicks back. Like when Amari Stoudemire got to New York, that's when they started winning, and then they made the move to get Melo in and all that. But you know, if he can kind of replicate what he did as a player in out here, as far as you know, in the coaching staff, you know, on top of the players they already have, like I can see some good things happening.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're gonna surround them guys with a little more kind of veterans for the rest of the kind of the staff over there. I think it's interesting. Thinking about Sean Marks. I think he's done a real good job with just kind of building relationships. I think he really knows how to kind of just make people happy. I'm pretty sure that the Steve Nash hire to start off is to make KD and Kyrie happy. And I know definitely KD. So. And then you think about the Amari Stoudemire hire, that's definitely to make Steve Nash happy. So for one thing I've seen with him, he definitely takes care of his people. So I think that's something other people are going to want to see and really want to kind of go over there. And then even him kind of paying the head assistant, being the number one head assistant in the league. So like I say, he kind of, because he was in the running for the job too. So like I think Sean Marks really takes care of his guys over there and builds great relationships. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of get some more people over there.
Yeah, 100%. And to move on from that, more coaching moves. Ty Lue is pretty much got his coaching staff in place, and man, it is fire. He's got Chauncey Billups. He has Dan Craig, who's an assistant with the Heat. Excuse me. He got Kenny Atkinson, he's got Kenny Atkinson, who we all know who Kenny Atkinson is. And, excuse me while I keep going through my notes here, he's got former Cavs head coach. Excuse me here for a second. Larry Drew. Can you that is, you talk about super teams, that staff is like a super staff. That like if you know like, and I know Chauncey Billups doesn't have any coaching experience himself, but he's been a guy that's been talked about in coaching roles as well as executive roles. Somebody that people believe is ready to take this on. And you know, we've seen him talk. We know he's a great basketball mind and all that. As a player, we saw how the impact he made. You know, he's NBA champion with the Detroit Pistons, went to multiple Eastern Conference Finals, gets moved to Denver. And then in Denver, he goes to a Western Conference Finals with Carmelo Anthony. He's been, for the majority of his career, he's been a winner. So, like the Clippers, are title favorites for a reason. Even with the fall off they had last year, this new coaching staff is going to be amazing to see, and the philosophy I think going forward is going to be interesting to follow as well.
Yeah, just piggybacking off what you were saying about Chauncey Billups. Like you say, he's been over everywhere he's gone, and just as a point guard too, as maybe one of the where you really have to know the game and kind of put people in the right position. So I think just that alone kind of puts it. And he was on the maybe the one team in the last 20 something years that we feel like won a championship without a real superstar on the roster. So he definitely knows how to get it done. So I think that's why he's been kind of considered for all those jobs. Kenny Atkinson, we talked about him on here a lot, just about he should be a head coach somewhere, and how we thought he shouldn't have lost the job with the Nets, and then all the openings, we thought he should have one of those. So for him to get those two guys, and then Larry Drew, who's a veteran who's been around, for a while now. He's been on a couple coaching staffs. I know that. So, like you said, it's like a superstar roster over there. I think that is. I did see that Ty Lue also tried to get KG to go over there because him and
I didn't see that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he said he tried to get KG because him and him, Chauncey Billups, and Ty Lue were all great friends. So that's interesting too. So
wow, that's crazy.
He was really, like you said, it's like a superstar coaching staff over there. So it just talks to me. It kind of just shows the great relationships Ty Lue has built over the years to kind of get those guys to come over there. Even a couple of guys we thought should be head coaches. So shout out to Ty Lue.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned how Chauncey Billups is one of the great point guards. The Clippers organization knows that they need a point guard in there. Even though we never talked about it, like I always kind of felt like that was a big weakness for them. Like is Pat Bev has to kind of overcompensate for what he lacks. He's not a big guy. And, I've never really viewed him as a starter either. But he's a pesky defender. You like him on your team. But, as a starting point guard, that's, no disrespect to Pat Bev. I think he's a very good player, and I think he could be a key cog if you're trying to win a championship. But they really don't have that point guard. I know it sounds like they're going to go after Rajon Rondo. Rondo's probably gonna I'm pretty sure he'll opt out of his deal with the Lakers. Maybe they'll try and sign to another one, run it back. Who knows? I don't think they should let Rondo go. If you're smart, from the reputation he's built as a postseason player, as well as what he was able to literally do for you this past season, and even his comments because I don't know if you saw his interview after they won it. I thought it was what he said was pretty authentic and true about like him teaming up with a guy like LeBron, how tough it would be to beat them. And it definitely showed this postseason. So if you're the Lakers, you don't want to let him go. But if you're the Clippers, that should be like priority number one for you.
Yeah, definitely. Patrick Beverley, like you said, brings a lot on the defensive end. So it's like a weakness because he's not maybe the best all around player, but he did bring a couple of strengths to the team. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like it's not like a super weakness for him. It's like you really need to get someone else in there, but it's definitely a position that they could upgrade at. So I think, like you said, Rondo's someone that's out there. Hopefully, maybe they can kind of, if Rondo doesn't work out, because like you said, the Lakers should be trying to bring him back and kind of bring that championship team back. So I think hopefully there's some other options out there, like you said, with Chauncey Billups on board. Maybe he sees the eyes for maybe a couple point guards that people aren't kind of looking at. Because even for him throughout his career, he was kind of like he bounced around a lot early in his career and he kind of getting overlooked. So maybe he can kind of see some of that and maybe another young point guard or something. So I think having Chauncey Billups over there just it will be great for them. And Kenny Atkinson too. You think about what he did with
in Brooklyn, developing those young guys.
Yeah, with Karis LeVert, and then after Spencer Dinwiddie and those guys went down, what he was able to do with D'Angelo Russell, a guy who a lot of people think couldn't be that leader or that point guard. So I think both of those guys in there are definitely and Ty Lue himself too. He was a point guard too, a guy that's been around, bounced around, kind of had to work for everything. So with those guys, I think they'd probably definitely be able to find maybe a diamond in the rough.
And you know what's crazy? They had a diamond in the rough. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like if you're I know the Clippers didn't want to give him up. They did it because they wanted to get Kawhi. Like if you're Kawhi, you gotta be like kicking yourself in the butt. Like because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be a really good player. Like he was showing some really good stuff when he was a Clipper, and he's been playing a little bit off a lot of not a little like a lot of off ball Oklahoma City because Chris Paul's there, but he's a point guard and he's shown even more improvement in Oklahoma City. Like if you're Kawhi Leonard, you just like, man, I maybe we should have went after somebody else and kept Shai. Like I'm so serious, man, because like Paul George just has not only has he not been able to get it done, and I'm not going to continue to kill him over that like I've been doing, but he's not even respected in the locker room right now from what we've heard.
Yeah. So I think that's something you maybe look back on, but I think I don't know how good their relationship was kind of before teaming up, or they talked about how they wanted to team up before and had a great relationship. So
it was full circle stuff. It was full circle stuff because they were supposed to be teammates in Indiana.
So things kind of didn't work out, how this year. But I'm a firm believer. It's only 1 year. They can bring it back. I think if their relationship is still solid, he probably won't look at it like that. Like, yeah, this year probably ain't work out, but as long as their relationship's solid and those two are good together, I'm pretty sure they're just looking at each other like we're gonna hit the lab and kind of go back at it. So he probably not dwelling on it too much. But man, yeah, they could use Shea.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's not even like their relationship. Paul George has now shown, and I've said it a million times. He's now shown that he can't get it done in the playoffs. Like I saw an interesting thing I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and it had like the Photoshop of like a jersey swap with Russell Westbrook on the Clippers and Paul George on the Rockets. It was like, who's better? I'm like, clearly the Clippers would be better because the Rockets would have two guys on their team that have historically not been able to get it done in the postseason.
Yeah, that's kind of funny to think about. I think all the Russell Westbrook critics will say that he can't shoot and he'll probably hold the team back. So it depending on how you look at it, I guess you can look at it 50-50. I think
When Russ has been with when Russ has been with the right guy, he's had his success.
I second that. Him and KD was in a. Me, I'm a firm believer. Every year, neither one of them wasn't hurt. They were in the conference finals guaranteed. So when he has the right, I wouldn't say right guy, but when he had another superstar around him, besides this year, because James Harden is the superstar. But when he had like
But
another superstar
even with
around him,
James, like they made it to the second round. Like they just had to deal with some tough circumstances as far as Russ went. Dealing with the COVID-19 and the high thigh sprain.
yeah, I was just talking about like making it to the conference finals.
Sorry,
Yeah,
quad.
the conference, making it to the conference finals wise. So yeah, like I said, Russell, when he's been around great players, he's been able to do great things. So I even this year he was able to figure it out. So I'm a firm believer he would have figured it out. But just have to, I guess, give the Westbrook critics a little shout out here because they have a lot to say.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Moving on. We've talked about this a lot off air. We're going to talk about it now on air. The NBA season could be coming back very soon. December 22nd is the date that they are looking to start it. I know Danny Green made some public comments about this, mentioning how if this happens, you're going to see a lot of guys sit out. Some people went at him for that. He could be right. He could be wrong. Maybe, some top tier guys sit out and some other guys that are, above average decide to stick it out. It's interesting because on one hand, you're like, they just finished the season. They need more time. But on the other, I think it was Stephen A that brought this up on First Take. They had 4 months off. So you should still, outside of like the Lakers and the Heat, you should be pretty rested up to be ready to go, in December. Now, on the other side of that, the league and the Players Association have a deadline to get all this stuff done by this Friday, and it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. They've been pushing these dates back constantly. They might be pushing it back again. Nobody's talking about it, so I'm worried we might see a lockout.
Interesting. That I don't know if could they be
72 games, by the way. It's not 82 games. It's 72. This is 100% because of the TV revenue.
Definitely. I think also it's a comfortability level. I kind of, first of all, what Danny Green said, I'm not surprised. I think I said earlier and kind of in the summer that I wouldn't be surprised if you see some older veteran players kind of take a couple months off at the start of the next season, especially if it comes back so fast. But I think starting it around Christmas time is just like the last time we had a lockout, the season started around on Christmas, and then they was able to play that 77 game season, I think, or maybe even 72. They was able to get that lockout short season. So I think, besides the money and the TV deal thing, I think just starting around Christmas is a comfortability thing. They know they've done it before. I mean, they're gonna have to change a little bit with COVID reasons. Guys, seen that they said that certain like LA, when you're in LA, you're just gonna play both LA teams instead of leaving and coming back and playing the other LA team. But they've done it before. They've kind of been in that same situation before. They kind of know how they can kind of squeeze a season in between December and June, or they may even go into a little July. So they've done it before. I think it's just a comfortability level too. So that's a lot of things maybe people's not talking about on top of everything else.
Yeah, man. It's definitely that. I know the other thing Stephen A had talked about was from a network standpoint, like in the viewership, like it was not easy for them to have to deal with going up against the NFL. And then you had the MLB with their postseason getting ready to go. It was just a tough thing to deal with. The NFL, I was at one point I was pushing back on it, but I got to give it to them. They are still the Kings. So, that just wasn't easy to deal with. So they want to get it back on track, but they don't have to deal with going up against the NFL because it didn't work out too great for them in this run. They had a lot of money that they lost because they had to go to this bubble with them not having the money from the gate and everything, and the expenses that they had to pay to even put the bubble together. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and I honestly I think guys are going to adapt. Like, the first name that everybody brought up was LeBron. LeBron's going to miss it. But you know what? I think LeBron will definitely sit some games out. But, like, Christmas time, I could see LeBron playing that Christmas game.
Yeah, I don't think he'll just sit the first month out. I think he'll probably play a game or two, maybe take a game or two off, kind of space it out a little bit because he still has to be in shape. You can't just take that whole extra month off and then come and try to run with people who's been running for the last month. So LeBron's smart about what he does. So he's going to time kind of like what he does too. And then on the ratings things, I think a lot of thing about the ratings too is that they were playing some games at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what they used to. Like, a lot of people were home, but a lot of people were still working from home. A lot of people were around the town was kind of going back into work and things. So playing your games that early kind of throughout the day, I think kind of affects ratings too. But they even said the finals ratings were down too. So I guess there's no excuse for that. But I think during the season and kind of the bubble, those earlier games may have messed them up too. So going back to kind of their regular schedule, they can kind of get set back into that regular time late in the day when people are not at work.
Yeah, man, and that's gonna be. I can't wait to see how things unfold. I'm definitely under the impression that they're not gonna get this done on Friday. They'll push it back again, and we'll be talking about that when we record our next episode because it's gonna be a long road. The players for sure are not going to be comfortable with starting at the end of December. Like, and what's weird is I think that they'll still probably end up putting a schedule together that starts in December. It's tough though. I think the only common ground you could get, and it won't work because they need that TV revenue, is shortening it to maybe like 65 to 68 games and starting in the new year. But I can't see that happening because of the money.
Yeah, and Stephen A had talked about it on First Take too. It's the price of business. Like, it's at the end of the day, this is still a business and things like that. So a lot of people are probably not going to want to do it. He talked about how like the NBA has made the most sacrifice going to the bubble. The only league that kind of really did it the most safe way, going to a bubble, not be able to see your family and things like that. So, but they just have to keep making sacrifices. Just the price of business. It's unfortunate, but I think in any other case, like you would say, like, you got to go to work. That's just the situation that you're in. So I think, like I said, I think a lot of players are going to take that. Older players, definitely. I think the younger players should be kind of happy because they're going to get a little more running time. I think those older players will maybe cut their minutes back a little bit earlier in the season and maybe miss a couple games. So I like the Christmas Day games, the New Year games, like the big games. I'm sure they're playing, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple here and there they can probably take off.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely wait and see how that thing all works out. Like I said, I'm very confident we'll be talking about this again on Monday. But let's move to some football. I don't know what you want to do, man. We got to talk about the New York teams. Do you want to talk about the Jets first or the Giants? The Giants is going to be a doozy. I don't know if you remember what happened on Thursday night, but
I do remember. Let's start off with the Giants.
Oh, man. So the Giants lost a 1-point game to the Eagles. Daniel Jones threw an absolute dime over to Evan Engram. He catches that. He would have been able to get right into the end zone with that. But not even if he doesn't get into the end zone, it would have been a first down. And there might have been a little too much zip on the ball, but the placement of the ball was pretty perfect, and Evan Engram just couldn't hold on to it. So because of that, they turn the ball over on down. Well, they don't turn the ball over on downs. They go to fourth downs. They decide they're going to punt. Eagles get the ball back. Carson Wentz stepped up when he needed to. Honestly, Eagles win the game by a point. That's not what I want to talk about. Daniel Jones puts on this amazing run, like 80 yards. You think he's going to the house. He's got nobody on him, and I don't know if this makes sense, but I guess his legs were moving faster than he was, and it just caught up to him. I don't know.
Yeah, the Giants are they were up in that game too, right?
Yeah. Sterling Shepard's comeback game, coming back from injury, he was balling.
Just the price of being a New York fan at this time, and it's kind of terrible to see because the conference is not that good. I mean, did that win put the Eagles in number one, or is the
win put the Eagles in number one? And get this, the Giants are 1-6, and they're not out of it.
Yeah, and they won that game. They had a chance to maybe be number one themselves. So I kind of talked about it last week and kind of blowing it up. But with how bad the conference has been, it was still maybe too early. Maybe I was calling it too early. So it's just it's a terrible loss. It's just this season that how the Giants have been going and things like that. You would have loved to get that win and maybe hopefully turn the season around. Like you said, Sterling Shepard was back. It's just being a New York fan right now. That's just what else do you expect?
You can't expect nothing, man. And I hate, as a Giants fan, I hate playing in Philly because something always goes wrong every time they go play in Philly. Every year when they go to Philly, something goes wrong. Even when Mike Vick was Philly's quarterback, and they had that walk-off win against the Giants that year. Like it's always been the Giants. Like remember last year when Eli Manning is back. Eli Manning is coming back because Daniel Jones got hurt, and he's killing it. He's killing it. They're up and everything, and they find a way to lose. So, if you're the Giants and you're going to Philly, expect them to lose.
Yeah, it's just like you said. It's just one of those things. It's unfortunate because if you get that win and we were up, so there goes the Giants fooling us again, just like they were up against the Cowboys. That's the Giants fooling us again and get you excited, get you on the edge of your seat, and then boom, they blow it in the end. And that, like I said, the conference has been so bad, and then with Zach Prescott going down, you think, oh, well, now it's kind of wide open. Maybe we still got a playoff shot, and then boom. I guess you're still in it, like you said, but with the way things are looking, they're just going to fool us again, so there's no need to get your hopes up.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. Like, at some point, like we talked about, at some point, Daniel Jones possibly getting benched. Like, and, Joe Judge not really having a tie to Daniel Jones. Like, they could be moving on from Dave Gettleman by the end of the season. When do you start – if you got a top pick, when do you start thinking about evaluating quarterbacks? Or do you feel like you're going to stick it out? Because – and I keep talking about this. Daniel Jones, like the 80-yard run, I'm like, man, this kid's got something. And then he tripped. At the end of that game, still, it's the same thing. You keep turning over the ball. He can't get out of his own way. He does these. It's like you take a step forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah, it's I don't know because I don't know what, like you said, that's not his quarterback. So does he love Daniel Jones right now? Does he not love Daniel Jones right now? I can't really see what he's seeing. Like, because if he sees a little something maybe in Daniel Jones, then it's like, okay, maybe you do get the first pick. Maybe you can trade that and get some pieces back because the Giants need some pieces. Or do you start looking at a new quarterback and see maybe what you can probably get for Daniel Jones or keep Daniel Jones as a backup? So I think it would be up to Joe Judge because, like you said, we kind of don't expect Gettleman to be there. What he sees. Does he see something? I mean, he probably does see something, but, like, does he love what he sees? And you still have to see when he watches those other quarterbacks, workout times, or maybe catch one of their games, does he fall in love with one of them? If not, you try to see, hey, Daniel Jones is like, all right, I don't love him, but, like, we could get something for this pick. So it's like we could probably our quarterback isn't that bad where we need a quarterback. So it's like maybe we just trade it, get some picks in, and try to build the team a little more.
It's going to be something interesting to watch, man. They're playing. They got another primetime game coming up this next week, this upcoming week, Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did sign Antonio Brown. He won't be able to play in that game because he'll still be in his suspension. Chris Godwin won't play either. He's dealing with an injury, and they'll still lose because I think that the Daniel Jones is probably going to get pummeled against that defensive front that Tampa Bay puts up there, and that'll help Tom Brady and the Tampa offense, who seems like they've got it figured out now. By the way, I'm not backing off my point. They're still not going to win that division, but
I thought you were going to talk about the point about how the Patriots are going to be better than them.
Hey, look. First of all, Cam Newton had COVID. I'm being serious. There are lingering side effects when you have COVID. We have people like young people developing glaucoma, like some people saying they couldn't feel their feet and stuff like that. That was my biggest worry when I heard that Cam got COVID, because let's keep it a whole 100. Cam Newton was balling before he contracted the coronavirus. And it is no coincidence that as soon as he comes back from having coronavirus, that he does not look that good. I looked at it the same thing with a lot of these NBA players, like Russell Westbrook, who we talked about that couldn't get back in a rhythm. And I'm like, he just came back from dealing with the coronavirus. Kendrick Nunn, who's in the Rookie of the Year conversation and did not play well at all up until the NBA Finals came around, because he too had coronavirus. So I think it is no coincidence at all that Cam Newton is, struggling right now after coming back from coronavirus. They got to get something going though, because that's three. I believe that's 3 losses in a row for the Patriots. But like I said, I'm not backing off my point. Saints are still going to win that division, even though Drew Brees looks very cooked. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will beat the Giants. The Giants will look very, very good losing, though, because they're going to have those white color rush jerseys on that we all love so much. So at least you look good in defeat.
Yeah, and they're probably maybe fool us again. Maybe Daniel Jones will pull a little Eli. You know how he used to play against Tom Brady. Maybe he'll pull a little Eli at his hat, but in the end, he'll turn back into Daniel Jones and fool us again. But not saying that
a lot of pain in your voice.
Not saying that he's bad, but they'll turn back into the regular Giants. I shouldn't say Daniel Jones. I just say the Giants. They'll turn into the old Giants that beat the Patriots, and then they'll turn back into this year's Giants. But that was the point I was going to make. I just totally forgot it. It's actually with Antonio Brown, you brought him up. He's going to be there. He's not going to be able to play this week. I think he has to serve a 7-game suspension.
Yeah, he'll be available after this week.
I seen Stephen A. said that they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw that.
You don't think they're going to win the division?
No.
Do you think they're in the Super Bowl now?
No.
Who do you think they go out to? What round do you think they go out?
I give them divisional round. I think they're good. It depends on who they play, But look, Max Kellerman want to go and say he wants to admit he was wrong. Tom Brady never fell off a cliff. You guys are all being fooled right now. He's still this older quarterback. He's got these weapons and everything. He's doing all right. Like, let me break this down for you. Like, they throttled Green Bay, right? They did not throttle Green Bay because Tom Brady had this all-world performance against the Packers. Are we just forgetting that the Packers were up 10-0 and then Tampa's defense really showed out, pick sixes and all? Like, I think if Tampa's defense didn't have a performance that they had, Green Bay probably would have won that game, albeit a little closer than we thought. And then, last week, hey, I'll give it to him. He performed. Him and Gronk looked like they were back to where they were when they were in New England and everything. I'll give that to him. But at the end, you will see that, hey, this dude, he's a legend, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. He's in his 40s, and you will see.
Yeah, but you don't think that maybe they can ride that defense into a championship?
Like Peyton Manning.
I was about to say kind of like Peyton Manning with Von Miller and those guys over there. You think he has the weapons around him, and then
he does.
You get older. You need some weapons. You need some defense, so he could maybe ride that to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a quarterback away from being Super Bowl champs.
They're 2 years away from being 2 years away. Yeah, I think they have a shot. It's to me, it's going to be Antonio Brown's been out the league for a little bit. Maybe he got his head back together, but if he has his head on straight and he's kind of ready to just focus back on football, I think he's going to be just another added weapon for him. Someone that with Gronk over there, someone that's going to really open up the field. So if he comes back and he's the Antonio Brown that we know, I think you definitely got to watch out for them though.
I think he's gonna, even though it's been some time, he's had some time off. Like he's gonna be he's gonna be pretty good. Right where he left off. I think what was interesting was, what Bruce Arians had actually said. As far as he's under a short leash. Like, if you're going to start complaining about targets, because they got some very talented wide receivers over there. None of those guys complaining about targets. You want to start complaining about how many targets you're getting, you're out. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that, and they're like, hey, we don't need you. It's just at this point, you can never have too many good players. But if you're going to get back to those old antics that you were having, you can go. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch when he does come back. But I think he's going to get out there and ball.
Yeah, same. I think to the point I was trying to make is him, like you just brought up, the off the field kind of things and kind of how he is, not even just with the team and things like that. We saw how he was acting kind of just off the field with the trouble with the police and all type of things like that. So if he can kind of, like I said, keep his head straight and maybe just focus on football and, kind of fit it in, I think he'll definitely be a weapon for him.
Yeah, for sure, man. So the New York Jets, gangrene, was up 10-0 on the Buffalo Bills, who currently lead the AFC East. They looked like a different team. Adam Gase gave up play calling, so you're just like, wow, maybe this makes sense that they're going away from Adam Gase calling plays. Look like they had a shot of energy in them. This whole first half looked great. Second half comes, they lose the game, and it's like same old Jets. I don't know what else to add to it. It's going to be more calling about, looking for another guy. And the interesting thing is Trevor Lawrence had a little press conference where he got asked about coming out to the NFL, and he kind of called out the Jets without calling out the Jets. I don't know if you saw it. He's just like, we got to see like the circumstances, like at this, and I'm paraphrasing here, at this moment in time, I plan to come out, but, we'll have to see how things shape out, which is kind of saying you could take it different ways. It could be like, hey, Jets, get your house in order, or look, if y'all got the first pick, I'm not coming out. He'll pull a Peyton Manning when the Jets had the first pick when Peyton Manning was getting ready to come out. He said, you know what, I'm gonna stay in college next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I see there's a lot of fake quotes out there about that. That's why I was kind of like, so I did see some quotes where he's like, I'm not coming out if the Jets have it, but I think that was just a fake. Yeah, I think that was a fake quote. So it's interesting. I mean, we talked about that only last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So that's kind of something we maybe expected, and we kind of speculated on that already. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, there's another quarterback out there that people might want. So it's like, I don't know, because he'll be taking a chance. But like I said, with the Eli situation, he can maybe try to force his way to the certain team that he wants to go to. But the Jets could still maybe pick him anyway and kind of force him to come. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. With the way they look, and I guess even with the way the Giants look, it's kind of like who wants to be in New York playing football. But I would rather play for the Giants just because their history.
It's the thing, though. Like, the Giants at least have something to work with. Like, the Giants are not a good team, but, like, I noticed with Joe Judge, like, they do play for him. And then, like, they don't have the greatest skill position players, but they've got some good guys. Like, I was just saying how Evan Engram needs to catch that ball. But Evan Ingram's a good tight end. I don't know if he's being utilized well enough over there. I don't agree with what Jason Garrett's doing with him over there, but like we've seen Evan Engram do some very good things in that Giants offense. Darius Slayton is picked up where he left off. He's doing very well over there. Like we talked about Sterling Shepard in the good game he had against the Eagles coming back. Golden Tate might get traded, but that's the guy there. So at least they have something, you know what I mean? They still got to work on that offensive line. I'm not even going to talk about the defense anymore because for some reason they went from being bad to being the saving grace of that team. But at least there's something there with the Giants. Like the Jets, it's just like Your head coach seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. You're just a bad team all around. You don't have a good line. You have no skill position players. Your defense isn't good. Like, there's nothing there. There's nothing there to really desire. And I give them this, like Denzel Mims, who's their rookie wide receiver that they drafted this year. He this was his first game. Him and Sam Darnold connected on some good plays. He looked pretty good. And then Tristan Wirfs is one of the better left tackles in the league. So that's a guy you would want to keep around. So you've got like some that there, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think, and even with the Giants, just not even what they have this year. It's like over the last couple decades and just history overall, the Giants have kind of just been a better organization. So if I'm coming out, I would probably think that the Giants will probably be able to get it together quicker than maybe the Jets will be able to get it together. But it'll be interesting. You bring up Tate maybe getting traded. I've been hearing a lot of rumors about maybe Engram being on the board and things like that. You say you don't like the way he was being utilized over there and things. So how you kind of feel about maybe Engram being on the trading block, and what do you think the Giants can maybe get for him?
Well, from what I heard, they weren't going to look to move him unless like it was like something significant, unless like it was like something that blew them away. And then the latest update I heard was like they're just not going to move him unless like someone calls them and gives them a crazy offer, because they traded Marcus Golden, who, I actually was like a proponent in them keeping Marcus Golden this year. They ended up signing him to that provision. I'm not even sure what that was called. It was like it's one of those things that like has only been used like one other time in the league. And like when they signed him to this, it was just like you didn't expect it to be successful because anybody could sign him and then like you're not gonna match. But nobody called him, so they're just like, we're gonna bring him in, and we're gonna bring him back because we have him, and they just never really utilized him. But they traded him and got a 6th round pick back. He's only 29 years old. So you're sitting there like, how fair was the compensation there? So for Evan Engram, like it's like, if I'm going to get something, if I'm not going to get like a 2nd round pick for a kid that could be like one, I think has the talent to be one of the top tight ends in the league, then there's no point in me moving on from him.
Yeah, definitely. I feel you. I think also they're kind of talking about when is it. I guess like you said, they have some solid like skill positions, so I think they shouldn't kind of go on the fire sale. But I've been seeing some rumors about that too, when they should maybe kind of start going on a fire sale, start trading people.
Yeah, I think from what I heard, like the two names you should, if you follow the Giants, the 2 names you should be looking out for that could get moved is Golden Tate and Kevin Zeitler. The Golden Tate one of the wide receivers, and Zeitler, who's the offensive lineman. So that's from what I heard, those are the 2 guys that could definitely get moved. But this Giants team, you never know. Like they're saying that they're not going to move on. They're not going to move on from Evan Engram. They want to get blown away by a deal. I distinctly remember a guy saying they didn't sign Odell to trade him, and then he got traded.
Yeah, well, that's New York sports for us right now. Katie and Kyrie, you're the only hope right now.
It's tough life. And, of course, the Yankees until playoffs come around.
Yeah, well, Katie and Kyrie, New York is counting on y'all. It's going to be a long winter.
Yeah, like isn't it crazy? There's only like 2 teams you can really count on in New York.
I mean, you always can count on the Yankees, kind of like you said. They've
until postseason comes around.
But history-wise, they've been holding it down for years, so they get the little pass to kind of maybe not show up some postseasons, because they've showed up in a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to some other stuff here before we get out of here. Continuing with the Jets a little bit here, they let go of Le'Veon Bell for nothing. He signs with the Kansas City Chiefs. His first game in Kansas City, he averaged 5 yards a carry, which was something he never did with the Jets. So what does that tell you?
Kind of just what we've been talking about. Who knows what's going on with the Jets? The Jets look kind of dysfunctional and all type of things. We knew Le'Veon Bell was good, so just him. I think no one's surprised about him getting those 5 carries per game. You know what I mean? Sorry. getting those 5 carries. So it's like we knew he was good. He was a good player. So it's just kind of like I said, what we were just talking about. The Jets are very dysfunctional, and you see why Trevor Lawrence is saying maybe he doesn't want to go there because even great players are not looking so great over there.
I want to know how Adam Gase is gonna be able to save his job. Like Chris Johnson's over here saying he's an offensive genius. Like I don't know what Chris Johnson is watching. I have not seen anything that suggests that at all. Like if they move on from Sam Darnold, like maybe Sam Darnold gets to a right organization and does exactly what Ryan Tannehill did. Ryan Tannehill was with Adam Gase in Miami, went to one playoff game. He was hurt a lot, but when he wasn't hurt, he really didn't look that good. He gets to Tennessee. He subplants Marcus Mariota as the starting quarterback, and then he goes out there and balls. He's actually put not Marcus Mariota. Ryan Tannehill right now is putting up MVP type numbers. So with Sam Darnold, if you can get we told Juju Smith-Schuster tweeted he would like to see him they would like to see each other team up. If you can get him to be Ben Roethlisberger's successor, people, the Jets fans are gonna be like, damn, we had this guy.
Yeah, definitely. Yards per carry is what I was trying to say. I finally got it. But anyways, yeah, definitely. We talked about it here. It's just maybe it's time for a new start for him. He's been over there. Things have been working out, and kind of just like I said, it seems like it's dysfunctional over there. Le'Veon Bell leaves, and he's looking great again. He was looking great before. Not that he was looking super bad with them, but it's just like I said, great players go there, or the players go there, and they just don't look as great as maybe they should. It just seems like it's a dysfunctional franchise together. I think they need to kind of maybe rethink their strategy, maybe blow a couple things up and kind of hit the drawing board again and bring it back. But Sam Darnold going to somewhere else, especially like you said, we talked about having someone that wants you and things like that can kind of maybe motivate you and kind of change you having fun playing football again, because there's people who want you and people who really support you and people kind of put you in the best position. So just a change of scenery, and Juju's good too. So it's like them two guys together, it could be something.
Yeah, man, most def. It's we're talking about things that ain't even really a reality at all right now, but that's just, you gotta hope for something to work out, man. Definitely gotta hope for something to work out. Man, I don't know what else we gotta talk about. There's a fight this weekend.
You want to get into the fight?
Gervonta Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. Tank Davis has made his move back down to 130 after he won the fight, but you sit back and watch and say it was a little unsuccessful for him in that fight at 135. So he makes the move back down to 130. Leo Santa Cruz is no slouch. I think Leo Santa Cruz will be able to hang with him. I'm probably gonna go with Tank Davis to win this fight, though. Honestly, by knockout. Don't ask me what round though.
Yeah, same. I was gonna say I'm gonna probably take Tank and probably knock out too. Like you said, there's no slouch over there, but I think with Tank, he's kind of like a I can't think of his name right now. Excuse me, Deontay Wilder. Thank you. Yeah, he's kind of like Deontay Wilder.
Don't say that.
But like knockout power though. If he hits you,
okay, knockout power, but he's not like fundamentally flawed like Wilder is.
Yeah, I was gonna say like knockout power. He kind of has that he's a heavy hitter, kind of like Deontay Wilder. So if he hits you with the right hit at the right time, he kind of can knock you out. So I think with just having that knockout power, I think he's gonna be able to kind of get the knockout.
Yeah, that's definitely one I was looking forward to. I actually was thought that fight was gonna be on last Saturday, because I'm like, man, this is great. We got the UFC Khabib versus Justin Gaethje during the daytime. Then I get this great boxing match at night, and that didn't happen. But yeah. Speaking of Khabib, he went out there and dominated Justin Gaethje Saturday afternoon, and then goes out and retires. Man, that dude's up there with some of the greatest. A 29-0 record, a couple title defenses, dominant every time. And, unfortunately, his father passed away due to complications to COVID-19. And, because of that, he's just like, well, I can't come out here and fight anymore. My mom doesn't want me to fight, so I'm done with this. I actually think eventually he will come back. I think there's a lot more left for him to accomplish. He's so young and has been so dominant. But, with everything going on, he just needs to take some time off. But, hats off to Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, same. I was gonna say I did think like the situation you kind of just described. I figured that he'll probably be back. Like you said, he needs to take some time off, and I think anyone in that kind of situation, especially if your mom doesn't want you to fight anymore, definitely take the time off. I think as time kind of goes on, though, it kind of maybe not that you kind of I don't want to seem a little rude, but as time goes on, maybe it gets a little better. You kind of maybe feel a little better. You kind of understand things a little more. So after that, maybe his mom will ease up on him a little bit and kind of let him get back in the ring. But I think after he might miss it after a while. So I think he'll come back. But I think another UFC fighter, I can't remember right now, went retired after fighting. So, or was he a boxer? Someone else within like the last year kind of retired after a fight. And people are just going out on top. So I like it. So, get your wins and then go out on top. So you live to fight another day. And then, yeah, like you say, he's 29-0. So I'm all for going out on top, at least, or at least going out like when you can walk on your own legs, especially in a sport like boxing. I mean, a fighting sport, a combat sport.
Yeah, man, most def. I mean, Conor McGregor, like he likes to say he's retiring and then comes back every once in a while. It's like I know he's talking about he wants to fight Dustin Poirier, which I don't really want to see, but because last time they fought each other, he just completely annihilated him. But Conor McGregor, he talks a lot, and because of that, he's got fans. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's more for the entertainment kind of part. He probably sits back and says, I'm done," and then gets into an arguing match with somebody. And it's like, "Nah, I'm coming back." So I think him for the entertainment part, that kind of brings it. Even when you see him, he just loves to put on kind of a show. So it's like, I think that entertainment part, just being able to do that, kind of just keeps bringing him back, even when he says like, "Nah, I'm gonna stop."
yeah, man, for sure. I did want to say one more thing to you before we get out of here. The Ravens and the Steelers are playing each other this week. Steelers are the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Now, they haven't actually played a good team yet, and people kind of poo-pooed on the Ravens a little bit, saying they don't have that spark that they had last year. I still think the Ravens are very good. We talked about them before. Not that I think. Like the Ravens are very good. I'm picking the Ravens to win this game. I don't know how you feel about the Steelers with their 5-0 start and everything like that, or even Ben Roethlisberger coming back and really being the only quarterback left in that. Like Eli's retired, Phillip Rivers doesn't look that good, so because at one point I was saying I thought Ben Roethlisberger was cooked, even before he got hurt. So like when you look at this game, however, it's a divisional game. Do you think the Steelers are like I know the Steelers are a good team, but I don't think that I don't think they're going to go to the AFC Championship.
I can see it. I can see what you're saying. I think it's maybe too early to tell. I think this Ravens matchup will be good to see kind of maybe like where they're at. So I think after this weekend, maybe you can get a little kind of better gauge on it. Like you said, like the people are saying the Ravens aren't what they were last year, but like you said, you think the Ravens are still. A lot of people still think the Ravens are a great team. So I think this would be a great matchup for them. I'm gonna ride with the Steelers on this one. Little fun fact: the Steelers have been like my second team behind the
I respect
Giants.
it. You did
So
like a historical thing there too. I don't know if you know
no, I don't.
the Maras and the Rooneys are related by marriage.
Interesting. Nah, I didn't know that. Yeah, so I'm gonna ride with the Steelers. I think Big Ben he missed most of all last season. I think with the injury, so him coming back, kind of getting that time off, and then I think Mike Tomlin. That's no. Am I getting his name? Yeah, sorry. I'm
Tommy,
thinking of some. Who's the Giants coach? Old name? What's his name?
the old Giants coach name?
Yeah, the one they won the Super Bowls with.
Oh, Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, I don't know why I felt like I got those names confused. That's besides the point. All right. Yeah, like we talked about him on here before, how we thought he was a great coach and even things he was able to do last year with Ben Roethlisberger out and stuff like that. So not too surprising. I mean, maybe a little surprising because no one maybe expected them to be 5-0. But I thought they'll be back with Ben Roethlisberger back and kind of having everybody back. I thought they'll be a solid team. So I think that maybe they're just hot right now, and like you said, the Ravens aren't the team that they were last year. So I'm a ride with the Steelers.
Okay. You want to wager on? Nah, I don't gamble. Let me not do that.
I mean, we could
Friendly.
yeah, we could do a friendly wager. I got the Steelers by 10.
I'm gonna take the Ravens in a tight one. I think the Steelers got great weapons. You know, obviously they got Juju, Chase Claypool. This kid is really good, man. The way that they've been able to set him up on offense and do what he does. Like you put him in big spots when you could just air the ball out. He's gonna be there to catch it every time, as he's shown. So like the Steelers have a good team together that they've put, you know, for Ben to go out there and continue to compete. You know, now that he's an older quarterback. But I think, you know, Lamar and them, you know, with the way that they run the ball over there, they're still going to be able to do some really good things. And because of that, I'm gonna take the Ravens in a close one.
Yeah, I definitely
1-score game.
Huh?
1-score game.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I think the Ravens, like you said, people have been kind of doubting them a little bit this year. I think they're due for a big game, but I'm still gonna ride with the Steelers. The 10 is basically like a 1-score game and a field goal, so it's kind of like the same. So,
All right. You know, we'll see. We'll be talking about it when we get back here next time, man. Well, that and of course, we'll monitor the Patriots as well. That's gonna be an interesting one to see.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's still riding with your pick, so to see how how the rest of their season kind of goes would be interesting. Because you said they're gonna be better than Tampa Bay.
They will somehow win the division. I don't know how, but actually, I'm pretty sure they're playing the Bills, so that's a game that they have to win.
Now, Buffalo is the only team putting on for New York right now, so they're gonna get the division. I think the Patriots. I think they're not gonna look like that. Like you said, they're on a 3-game losing streak. I don't think they're gonna continue to look that bad, but I'm gonna stay with the Bills.
You know what Buffalo showed me against the Jets? That they're not in the upper tier. Like they're just a good team, but they're not that team.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I mean, sometimes, you know, you can maybe play down to your competition a little bit. I know they lost to the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago, but playing against the Jets, you know, maybe you play down to your competition a little bit. So I won't kill them a little bit against the Jets. That's one of those ones where you like go out and party before the game and then you wake up and play. They're not too worried about the Jets.
Yeah. One more. All right, I'm lying. There's one more thing before we get out of here. Tua Tagovailoa has been named the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not mad at it at all. I think it is literally the Kurt Warner. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick came out and said he wasn't happy about it and all that. You know, they really started playing well right before they made the decision to make him the starter. It's the Kurt Warner treatment. Kurt Warner was not playing bad at all when the Giants decided to go to Eli Manning, but it's just like, you know, we have this guy. We took him with our first pick. You know, we believe he can do some great things here. And you're setting Tua up as great as could be because this team is playing very well right now. So why not put him in that position?
Yeah, definitely. I think even when he got drafted, a lot of us was really more concerned about the hip injury and if he'll be able to play this year. I think since he is able to play and he does seem like he's healthy and he was able to get out there and get a couple snaps the other day, I think, yeah, why not? Like you said, it's like you're looking towards the future now. You have this guy, the team's playing great, so you want to try to put him in the best position, especially when he's first getting going, so he can start building that confidence maybe going into next year or going into the future in general, because he's your guy for the future. So to get him in there now where they're playing great, get some reps, get his confidence up, is just the perfect situation.
Yeah, man, for sure. So it's another. I can't wait to see him play, man. I'm very excited for that one. I got to get a stream for that game if it's not going to be on TV out here. But that's one I'm gonna definitely be monitoring.
Yeah, 100%. Just even like his story, like we talked about last week about him sitting on the field after the game. And I just said it about how he was injured. We didn't know if he was going to be able to play this year. Just everything he's been through to see him get out there and just be able to play, have fun again. I think that's just great to see.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, you know, that was an action-packed show for you guys. We had a bunch of stuff we had to cover. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. If you didn't check out Kayson's piece on Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, you need to go check that out now. It's a great piece to go read up on. We got some more stuff coming for you pretty soon. And, you know, that's it, man. That was your weekly rundown. It's Rich, it's Kayson. We'll see you guys soon.